Well, welcome back. I'm Joseph McClendon III, and this is Toby. And today I'm going to talk about the fourth of the 5 keys, the 5 pillars of magnificence, to have a magnificent life. And this is, all of them are my favorite, but this one is one that I think it at least begins the process of sealing it into our nervous system so that it becomes automatic with us. And it seems unlikely that this would be such a strong pillar, but it truly is. And once you hear it, once you understand it, and you understand it from the standpoint of geometrically helping you grow, you're going to realize that it is something that you not only want to do, but you already probably love to do anyway. And so grab a pad and paper, because you know how we roll up in here. Take some notes. I'm not going to just tell you some stuff, but I'm also going to share with you some things that you can do to enhance all of the pillars, if you will, to help you go further, faster. And remember, no matter where you start, whether if you started on this one or you started on the ones before, wherever you start, it's a loop. Each one feeds each other to create what I call a cybernetic loop, and one feeds the other, and you grow bigger and bigger. And so the fourth pillar, if you will, is kindness. Kindness, that's right. And like I said, it might sound counterintuitive, because oftentimes people that talk about, wanting to achieve more in their lives and make more in their lives, they're looking for something that's like a lot more edgy, and something that might be something that is a lot more achiever oriented, if you will. But I'm here to tell you that this is the one that really does, like I said, sort of starts to trigger more, let's just say, drive in us, because it is a natural thing for us. And here's what I mean by that. First off, kindness, there's a lot of different definitions for it, but for me, kindness means 2 things: caring and having action towards the well-being of one's self and others. The second is, caring and having action towards the well-being of others as well. And I believe that that's what we're on this planet for. And as a matter of fact, and by the way, kindness is an emotion first. It's a feeling that you get, because before you do something for somebody else or something else, you got to have an emotion. You got a feeling of compassion, or a feeling of sympathy or empathy, or something that you want to do something for somebody as well. So it comes with an emotion. And that, again, as always, I'm going to give you something to do so that you can develop more of that inside. I'm sure you're already a kind person. But here's where I like to start on that. I believe that every single one of us is put on this planet to care about and to have compassion and to take action towards the well-being of others. And so much so, and remember, I always come from a science place as well, so much so that we would not exist if that wasn't true. In other words, if we didn't have a built-in system to take care of one another and to take care of ourselves, really. And I'm going to talk about kind of the outer first, and then I'm going to talk about the inner. And what that means is that when you were born, your mom and your dad, but more so your mom, created more of something called oxytocin. And oxytocin is that I'm just going to call it the compassion and that connection and love hormone that goes through, that connected her, and your father develops it as well. We develop it as well. But moms, it's definitely because she obviously has that physical connection with the child. But that oxytocin makes her care about the well-being and makes her do things about the well-being of that child. As a matter of fact, when my son was born, it was something that was really interesting. As soon as the instant he was born, I'm sure those of you other parents know what I'm talking about. You've gone through it as well. As soon as he was born, something happened. I automatically, in an instant, realized the real true meaning of unconditional love, because in the moment I would have given my life for this person that I've only known for a couple seconds now. And the second thing that I realized was, this is his life, but my job and I'm driven to do, my job is to take care of him and make sure that he feels love, and to make sure that he knows he's taken care of him and to love him and all those things. And so the reason I say that is this, is that human beings, we're social creatures, and we need to have other people care about us. We need to have outside, let's say help. When human beings are born, we're absolutely helpless. As a matter of fact, Human beings are actually born sooner than most animals would be. And the reason being is because our brain is so big, it wouldn't fit through the birth canal. So we gestate, if you will. So we are in the womb for an amount of time, and then when we come out, we're helpless, absolutely helpless. And we're so helpless that we would die if not for the care, kindness of somebody else taking care of us. So our Creator, whatever you believe, gave us that instinct, if you will, to take care of, and I'm just talking about our children for one, but to take care of our children, because the child knows instinctively if it doesn't have somebody around, then it's going to die instinctively. That is why babies cry out when they're alone. And those of you that have children, you know the difference between a cry of a baby that's hurt or hungry or wet or something like that versus when they realize that they're alone. And that is because our Creator gave them that need to have people around. There were experiments done a while ago, and some of them weren't so kind, and I don't necessarily agree with them. However, the science is in. And there is something called the failure to thrive. Failure to thrive means that if you're not touched, if you're not loved, if you're not given attention when you're an infant, when you're a baby, then the babies that don't have that, and they would do that, they would take orphans and they would take them and they would feed them. There was things called Skinner boxes, I believe, and what they were was, you've seen them where the babies they put them in this box and they fed them and changed them with gloves, and then the baby never saw who was taking care of them. And those babies wound up not gaining weight and being unhealthy and being neurotic and all of those things. Some say that some of them even passed on. I don't know that that's true. But you can go do the research on it and you'll see that. Now, obviously, it's a cruel an experiment, but the point of it is that we need to have others. We need to have that kindness, if you will. We have to have people care about us and take care of us. And so the reason why this is so important in these 5 pillars right now is when we do that, when we take care of somebody else, when we care about somebody else, then we feel good. We get oxytocin release. Now think about it. Think about things that you've done when you did something good for somebody else, when you gave to charity or you helped somebody, you changed somebody's life. How did that make you feel? Made you feel really, really good, which means dopamine release, which means you actually get the benefit of helping others. I grew up in a family where, we didn't have a lot of money. And my mom would do things, I may have shared this before, but my mom would do things that for no other reason just than to be a good person. She would do basket brigades, and this is long before they became popular. She would go out and she would collect food and make these baskets and then go out to the disenfranchised areas of town and give food away on Thanksgiving and Christmas and things like that. And she would also do some things that trained us children to be kind to others as well. And what she would do and how she did this, I don't know. How she convinced parents of families that we didn't know to give us their children for summer vacation. She would go into the ghettos and into the disenfranchised areas of town, the poor areas of town. And by the way, we weren't, we were middle class, and we're doing better than obviously those out there, but we didn't have a lot of money as well. And I remember it pissed me off in the very beginning, but I realized what the benefit of it very then and then just recently. What she would do is she'd go and she'd get one boy and 2 girls. I have 3 sisters, and my one sister was still pretty little at the time. But she'd get, I was like 14 years old, and she'd get a 10-year-old boy. And she'd get, my sisters were, in their early teens as well, and she'd get like 11 and 12-year-old girls. And our responsibility was to take care of those children for the summer. Now, at 14 years old, and summertime, school's out, what do you want to do? You want to go hang with your boys, and you want to go do things. And I got this 10-year-old kid that was hanging around. But here was the deal. The kid looked at me like I had everything, because I had my own room, and I had a bicycle and things like that, and he didn't have anything. And it wasn't long after that I started he'd ask me these questions, and in the beginning, I'm 14 years old, so I wasn't, that great a person at that time. I shouldn't say that. But I would teach him things. He would ask me things, and I'd teach him things. And quite honestly, I would give him things just to keep him busy so he wouldn't bother me. Here, build this, do that, that kind of thing. And after a while, and he would be fascinated. And all of a sudden, I started to feel that, this really feels good. And then I took an interest in him. And then by the way, the next year was a new kid. And by the end of the summer, this kid and I were great friends. And he had learned a bunch of stuff, and I actually learned some things from these kids as well. Now, the reason I say that was when I was doing it, I was super happy. When I was doing that, I found myself stepping up and doing more. I found myself feeling enthused and sticking to my word and doing things that other people wouldn't. And I actually felt myself caring to the point that I would defend this kid, And I would take him places with me that I wouldn't normally take him. And when people go, "What's he here for?" And I go, "That's, my friend, and he's with me." And if it wasn't great, then we'd leave. And I sided with him. And the reason I share that with you is because what happens inside of you when you care about somebody else is you become more empowered. You become more magnificent. That essence of you starts to grow inside. And it is really, really important because remember, we're supporting ourselves so that we have this loop going on. So caring about other people is critical, and to be cared for is critical as well. Now, remember, now, by the way, that is the outer caring for somebody else and the inner of caring for somebody else. Because as we do that, as we care about somebody else, we're actually doing something for ourselves inside as well. And we're becoming better people as well. And we feel more capable, confident, certain. We feel better, like better people. And remember, when we're doing things like that and we think about that, as we seek, so shall ye find. And when we're doing things like that, we actually look forward to it, and we look forward to the benefit of. And other things, because our focus is out there and caring about somebody else, other problems and things like that seem to fade off into the distance, and things that waste your time seem to fade off as well. And so that is the inner and the outer of caring for somebody else. But the other side of it that is critical is the compassion and the caring and the love and the activity for caring about yourself and being kind to yourself. The word kind, I always use words, and I like to find meanings that kind of have support the meaning that I believe kindness or anything is. And kindness to me is that you want them to be your kind of person, or you want to be the same way, the same kind, do something the same kind of way that you would want something done to you, you do to yourself. And so you as a human being, it's really critical that you're kind to yourself. And achievers and motivated people, high achievers, entrepreneurs, and that type A personalities, something that I call the fatal flaw. And that is that they're so unbelievably hard on themselves. And you know what I'm talking about. It's, I call it being a member of the self-beaters club. Even when you succeed at something, you beat yourself up and you go, "I should have done it faster." Or you compare yourself to somebody else that's doing better, and you go, they did it better than me. Or that wasn't good enough. And sometimes it's your voice, and sometimes it's the voice and the influence of somebody of your past. But either way, it's there. And my guess is, you know what I'm talking about. My guess is that you've experienced that, and you're not as kind to yourself as you could, should, would be. And that is like, in my opinion, scolding a baby for not having jumped up and run the first time he or she tried to walk. You wouldn't do that, even if they fell over. If they tried and they didn't succeed at the first place, you wouldn't go, "That wasn't good enough." They wouldn't go, "You're stupid." You wouldn't go, "Somebody else did it faster and better than you." Of course you wouldn't. You'd praise that baby. You'd go, "Hey, this is wonderful. Try it again." And you do it again. And because you're doing that, remember, we need that. And when it comes into us, dopamine release, endorphin release, oxytocin release, and we feel good. We feel better about ourselves. But what if you did it to yourself? What if you gave yourself that kind of kindness, even if you didn't get it right, even if you weren't operating at your absolute best, even if you weren't perfect, what if you gave yourself credit for stuff, even they weren't the great things, but anything at all, and you were kind to yourself? So I'm going to give you a really quick exercise, something that you can do that is going to increase your kindness toward yourself and obviously your kindness towards other people, and then some suggestions to do for other people as well. And it's something that I love to do. Is one of my favorite exercises. And by the way, you're going to find this in the free book that I have for you at the it's down there somewhere. You can see it, and the book is called Dare to be Magnificent. There's some exercises in there. When I say exercises, they're things to do, because it's not what you know, it's what you do that's going to produce results. And so one of the things is, I call it the mirror exercise. And this is one that is going to, just doing this one is going to enhance and increase your likelihood of doing the others as well. And that is, when you wake up in the morning, and it's critical that you do it first thing in the morning, get up, take some deep breaths, and go look yourself in the eyes in the mirror. And don't just look around at your face and everything, and don't go, because, often people look, oh, look at that wrinkle, look at that, that kind of thing. Here's what I want you to do. Raise your eyebrows, look yourself in the eyes, and say the 4 magic words. The first word is your name, your first name. Say your name out loud. And the other 3 you know. One's a letter. I love you. Look yourself in the eyes and say that. It might be difficult for the first couple times. As a matter of fact, you'll get a different kind of feeling when you look yourself in the eyes, if you don't do this already. And just say, I love you, and put a smile on your face, and then pat yourself on your back and get the hell out of there. Go do it on your day. Don't worry about it. It just takes a couple days. I suggest, I do it every day, but I suggest, you do this intensely for the next at least 10 days. And as you do, here's what's going to happen. It gets easier and easier. And remember, human physics. The more you do it, the better you get at it. But it's not just the better you get at feeling comfortable you're doing it, the better you start to believe that you love you. That is the ultimate kindness that you can do to yourself. And what will happen is you're going to find that voice that beats you up gets mitigated. You're going to find a new voice talking to you inside your head that says, yeah, I do love you, because you're going to start to believe it. The pure physics of it alone, meaning repetition makes it better, the pure physics of it alone makes you believe it. You see, one of the easiest and quickest ways to believe something is just to repeat it over and over again. You see, we have input coming in all the time. We believe stuff all the time, and we believe stuff that's just not true. I mean, think about it. I can't tell you how many times, and you probably can't tell you how many times you have believed something that wasn't true. Believed something about yourself, believed something about other people, believed something about the world around you, and it turned out to just not be true. Well, listen, you believed it because you heard it over and over again, or you heard it a few times at emotional intensity, and it got stuck in your unconscious mind. Well, let's use that to your advantage. Do the same thing. When you say that to yourself while you look at yourself in your eyes, there's emotion there, and that drives it deeper inside your nervous system, and you start to believe it. And, people always ask me, well, Joseph, because I do a lot of stuff on stage, and people go, aren't you nervous? And I go, no. And they go, well, what do you do? And one of the things that I do, and I've been doing it for years and years, is before I even go on stage, I have a conversation with myself. Joseph, I love you. This is going to be amazing. Listen, your unconscious mind is going to deliver you the confidence, the pride. It's going to deliver the humor. It's going to deliver all the things that you need to give these people 10,000 times more than they came for, so that they walk away from here with not just something that they can use, but they will use it in their lives, will enhance. Now, those words, I believe them. I believe them. I believe that I'm a badass, at the risk of sounding arrogant. I don't go around telling it to everybody, but I believe that, but I didn't always. And by the way, just so you know, I come from a place, I always say this, that I use myself not as some shining example of the way that things should be, but I do use myself as an example of what is possible, because I was once homeless in my life and suicidal. I didn't want to live. And that's a pretty low place and dark place to come from, to a place that I love myself, and I give myself credit, and I'm grateful for all the things that I have. And that's deep inside my soul. And I want you to have that gift for you as well. And so that fourth pillar is, and now you probably understand why it's important. You need it from people, and it makes you grow when you do it to and for people as well. And believe it or not, just the thought of it makes a difference. You have the ability for yourself and for other people to impact somebody's life and cause them to change and cause them to feel something without even touching them. And I'll give you an example. Years ago, I grew up in this small town in California called Lancaster, California. And it was a very small town, and so small that a lot of people, we all knew each other. And, high school was very small, so everybody knew everybody. We knew of or knew each other. But there was this thing back in the olden days called common courtesy and common kindness, if you will. And one of those things was, if you're walking down the street and you see another person coming up toward you, you'd at least look at them and go, "Hi, how's your day?" Or some sort of salutation, some sort of acknowledgement that that person is there. Even if it's just a, "Hey, how you doing?" That kind of thing. You would at least acknowledge that the person was there. Well, when I was in my early 20s, I moved to Hollywood, California. I was a musician, and I went to seek my fame and fortune in Hollywood. And I'll never forget this. By the way, I had gone to Hollywood and gone back and forth several times, but I never noticed something about living there. And that was this. I'd walk down the street, and people would just ignore me. They'd just completely blow me off. And this was way before cell phones, by the way. They'd act like I wasn't even there. And I'd say hi, and I'd do that, and they'd look at me like I slapped their mother or something. And I couldn't figure it out. And I remember thinking, these people suck. This is terrible. These people are awful. No wonder they call this plastic, these pretentious jerks. And then I thought something that, I thought all the way back to what my mom used to say. She goes, what if it's not them? What if it's not them? If you're angry at somebody, if you're frustrated with somebody, what if it's not them? And I thought to myself, well, of course it's them. I'm happy, I'm outgoing, I'm doing these things, and they're not doing them. And then I thought, okay, well, the other thing that my mom used to always say is, well, what if there's something you could do to change the situation? Now, fortunately, I'd already been starting to study psychology and everything, and I didn't quite understand how it worked, but I did something. I changed myself. I thought to myself, well, no matter what, I'm going to love these people. No matter what, I'm going to continue. I'm not going to let them crush my happiness or crush my joy or my kindness. And so what I started doing was, and I still to this day, I call it my 50-foot rule. And you can use this as well. And that is, anybody that comes within 50 feet of me, I'll look at them and I'll say to myself towards them, "I love you." I know this sounds, airy-fairy and butterflies and everything, but remember, we're doing this from science, and we're doing this from a chemical standpoint or a hormonal standpoint to aid in your own magnificence. And I would look at them and I'd say, "I love you." And by the way, when you make a statement like that, you got to look at for something. Your brain goes, okay, what do I love about them? I love the shoes that you're wearing. I love that you're another human being on this face of the earth. I love the fact that this is a great day. And you start looking you're optimistic. You look for options. And what happened was I started to feel better first. But the really interesting thing was, within just a very short amount of time, people started looking up, and people started to feel me, and people started to look at me, and people started to acknowledge me first sometimes. And then they'd speak up. And let me ask you a question. Have you ever walked into a room, and when you walked into a room, people notice that you're there, they look and they notice and they look up? Of course you have. Or vice versa, you walk into a room and people could care less. They don't know that you're there. What's the difference? It's what's going on inside your head. It's what you're thinking about yourself, other people in the world around you, or a combination of those things. When you get outside of yourself, when you start looking outside of yourself and caring about somebody else, whether it is contrived, meaning you made it up in the moment and you're causing yourself to do it, or unconsciously, 4 things happen. Number one, and by the way, proof of this is this. That is this. And I use this when I talk about magnetism and attracting things in your life as well. We all have the ability to impact and influence things on the outside, other people, other things as well. I'm going to use people for an example. Have you ever been sitting in your car and you feel somebody looking at you and you look over and there they are? Of course you have. Or vice versa. You look in, another car, and maybe there's an attractive person or an interesting person, and you look at that person and they feel you and they catch you looking. Well, this is a very real thing. It's called electromagnetic energy, and there's different types, but this is what happens. And you can go on YouTube, if you're watching me here, and you can look up Carillion photography and you'll see it in action. What happens is, as soon as we put our intention and attention on somebody else, and by the way, it works with everything else as well. As soon as we put our intention and attention on another human being or another thing, 4 things happen. Very important. Number 1, your electromagnetic energy grows. Maybe you've heard it called your aura or whatever you want. It's everything gives off electricity and it grows. It gets bigger. When they do it with Carillion photography, you literally see it growing as soon as you put your attention on it. The second thing that happens is that person feels it. They feel it inside. They all of a sudden, you know, that feeling that you get, whatever it is. It's not, some people are a lot more in tune when they go, oh, I'm getting it right now. Just all of a sudden, people are not really even conscious of it, but they feel it on some level. It causes them to react. The third thing that happens is their electromagnetic energy grows as soon as they do. Why? Because now they're outside of themselves and they're putting their intention and attention on you. So it's the same thing. Theirs grows. But here's the greatest part about it. Is the fourth thing that happens is you become connected. You become connected energetically. And remember, the third pillar is energy, is electricity. You become connected and you actually become attracted towards each other. And so the reason I share that with you, and it works with yourself as well. As soon as you look yourself in the eyes, you're outside of your own, of your own conscious thoughts, and you're looking at yourself in the eyes, and that energy grows up. That person in the mirror grows, and it becomes a cybernetic loop. And so all of these things, I know this is kind of a touchy-feely one, but it's really, really important that you understand that this is part of your life. And so what my encouragement is in terms of an assignment or an exercise to do, my encouragement for you is to go out and look for ways to be kind to other people. Not necessarily even have to go out, a lot of us are in our homes right now, but sometimes it's as easy as picking up a phone and calling somebody up and saying, hey, I haven't talked to you for a while, just seeing how you're doing, or sending a text. Or, helping somebody, you're helping somebody doing whatever, doing something for other people. And when you do, remember, we're not doing this to get something. We're doing this because it's the right thing to do, but we're doing this also because it changes the world. And, without going into it, as well as I do, that what the world needs now is more kindness towards each other. And this is critical. So for all the right reasons, your kindness towards somebody else is going to help them, obviously, but it's also going to help you. Your electromagnetic energy grows. Your identity of yourself is going to grow. You're going to feel better about that you're a better person. You're going to feel better in the moment when you do something. And when we feel better, then guess what? We're more likely to do the other steps. When we feel better, we have more energy. When we feel better, we're more likely to follow through on the things that we said that we were going to do. All of them start to work in concert. And then lastly, be kinder to yourself. Good Lord. Give it up to yourself. And so that's the exercise was to look in the mirror. The second thing is just make a list of everything that you've done and realize it and just pat yourself on the back. Praise, 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 praise. Now, this and all of the other pillars that I talked about are outlined for you. I say outlined, but I have a free book for you, and the book is called Dare to be Magnificent. And all of it is in there, and you can go back, and there's exercises and processes that you can do that you can put it inside of you. And my outcome is always so that a year from now, or 6 months from now, or 2 years from now, you recognize that you're a different person. You recognize that you created who you are. See, there's the term called personal development. And to me, personal development means rehearsing whom you wish to become. And so obviously, a year from now, you're going to think differently, you're going to look differently, you're going to walk differently, you're going to have different beliefs. The trick is to assume ahead of time what kind of person that is and start rehearsing it now, start being it now. And so part of that, again, my book, I want you to have for you. And the only thing that I ask is, number one, is to use it, use the material in there. You don't have to use everything right away. But it's good reading, I'm telling you. It's something that you're going to get, and you're going to go, okay, well, yeah. And as you do it, the exercises in there, you start to change as a person. So that a year from now, you wake up and you go, I really am changed. I'm a badass. And the second thing is to share it. Not necessarily share the book if you don't want to, but share your experiences, share your the wisdom. You don't have to give me credit for it. You can just go, hey, listen, I learned this thing. Let me teach you about this. And that's it. So click on the link or follow the link, get yourself the book. We'd love for you to have it and to read it, and for all the reasons that I said before. And then also please like and subscribe and hit that notification button, if you will, so when we have more videos, you are alerted to help you go further faster. Thank you so much for your time, your energy, your trust, if you will. And remember, life is exactly what you dare to make it, and fortune favors the bold. I'm out.